Hi, this is Excel class, Excel 2019, and the reference textbook is CENGAGE, Microsoft Office 365, Office, sorry, yeah, Microsoft Office 365 Excel 2019. That's the Shelley Cashman series. Shelley Cashman series. This is the textbook. Uh, the This class is going to look at the apply your knowledge question in at the end of the coursework in module 3. The first part of it was treated in the very last episode that was titled Understanding Logical Tests and Absolute Cell Referencing. The second part of the question under the apply your knowledge at the end of the coursework is what I'll be explaining in this episode, in this class. Page EX360, that's page 60 of module 3. Module 3 is working with large worksheets, charting, and what if analysis. So the apply your knowledge question looks at understanding logical tests and cell referencing. We've done that for the first part of that. So the second part of that, page 361 now. The first thing that was required is to write cell L23 as a relative reference. Absolute reference, mixed reference with the column varying, and mixed reference with the row varying. So this is what we're going to do, we are required to do. L23, this is relative reference. L23 is written as L23. L23, this is in column L, row 23. Let me take this out. So this is L23, row, column 23, sorry, column L, row 23. If you take note, this is highlighted as green, L is highlighted as green, and if you notice this row 23 is also in green. There is a highlight over there. So this is a relative reference. That means this cell can change its value, its function, when I use drag and drop effect. When I use drag drop effect, this can change its function. But right now L23 is here. Now that's relative reference. Next is write L23 as absolute reference. Absolute reference means the column and the row would not change when we use fill handle to drag down a formula. For instance, if there is a formula here in L4 and I want the formula to be effected in L5, L6, L7, L8 to L10, whatever formula I used here, it would be effected in L5, L6 to L10 accordingly. Let's assume I had used for this formula, let's assume I used some E1 to E5, some E1 to E5, and I'm here. By dragging this downwards, it will change E1 to E5 to different cell functions. That is relative. Now, if I don't want cell E1, E5, or whatever the cell, I don't want it to change even if I hand feel to drag the formula downwards. I don't want the, okay, let me make here, this is 6. So if I use a formula that sum C6 to C7, sorry, C6 to D6, sum C6 to D6. This is C6, this is C6. D6 plus C6 will give us 11. Now, let me put that here. Sum is equal to sum C6 to C7. Oh, sorry, C6 to D6, I mean. That gives us 11. That's C6 to D6. That's 11. Now, if I drag this downwards, what it does is, no, I used this cell and this cell to get this, and I dragged it down. As I'm dragging it down, it's showing addition of this and this, which is 9, and this and this. As I keep going down, it keeps adding this entry in this column to this entry in this column. It keeps doing that. Now, let me undo. What I now want to do is, I want to ensure that this 6 does not change. This C6 does not change at all. So I can change this C6, I can make it an absolute reference, which means even if I'm dragging down, 6 will remain absolute. This C6. By doing that, what I have to do is to put a $sign. That means column C is fixed. Then another $sign beside 6 means row 6 is fixed. When you put column $sign for the column and $sign for the row that cell belongs, that means we're saying even if we're dragging it down, that is an absolute value we're using. So this is equal to 11. Let us now drag it down so you guys can see the effect. This that I have fixed here does not change. It just keeps adding the other cells below it. Now, I have fixed these cells in that formula. Now, this, add it with 9, gives us 20. Add that answer to 8, gives us 28. That's absolute cell referencing, which is written as, for the question says, write it as an absolute reference. So the column will be fixed. You fix a cell or column or row accordingly with the sign, with the $sign. So $sign L, $sign with L means the column is fixed. 23 is fixed also for the row. That means where is L23? L23 is here. So if I put $L, $23 means I have fixed the column absolutely, and I have fixed the row. Both row and column have been fixed. This cell belongs to row L. Sorry, it belongs to column L. This is the column L, row 23. That is where this cell belongs. And since it belongs here, if I want to make it absolute reference for this column L, I'll put a $sign with the L. For this row 23, I'll put an absolute column there, which is an absolute sign there, which is the $sign. That is the answer for the second part. Then the next says mixed reference with column varying. That means if column is varying, row is fixed. Mixed reference with column varying. Now, that means L is the column. There is nothing with it. That means it varies. When I drag the fill handle, for instance, for a formula, it changes the row, the column value. But the $23 here means entries in row 23 would not change. This entry rather in row 23 will not change. It is fixed. Basically, you use the $ to hold a cell value to its column or to its row accordingly. So here I put the $ beside 23. That means I am holding fixed row 23, but column L for this reference can change. The last part says mixed reference with row varying. Now, mixed reference with row varying. Column L is hold fixed with this $, then row 23 can change. So if I'm using a formula and I'm using a field handle to drag down and effect the formula on the subsequent rows or subsequent columns, this would mean that the column here, the reference here in this column would not change, but the row will change. This one means the column can change value as I'm changing the formula, but the row would not change. The $ is to hold the row. But absolute means both row and column for this cell reference is held fixed. Constant is the same. It will not change. We don't want to change the value. That value is exactly what we want to continue to use. The relative reference is when neither the column nor the row is fixed. So both can change as the formula changes. Now, that's part 2 of the question of understanding logical tests and absolute cell referencing. Now, for part 3, something has been done here. I would explain how it is done and what you would do, and you can attempt the exact values and instruction in the textbook. The part 3 starts from EX361 to EX362, 361 to 362. So exactly what is being done here has been done here, but some values and some instructions were changed, so that if you want to attempt this, you can attempt this, and with the knowledge I would share here. We were given this table in figure 383. There is a table there, and here that's summation of C5 to C7. This is C5 to C7 divided by C4. This is C4. That means that's addition of these three, all divided by C4. Any answer you get here, for instance, if you drag it forward here, if you drag this answer forward here, what it's going to do is it's going to change these values in column C to values in column D and divide it with D4. You can see D5 to D7 divided by D4. D is going to change to E5 to E7 divided by E4. C. That is because it was a relative reference. For instance, if I tweaked this to this E5 to $E, $5. $E, $5 means this is E5. That means every time I'm using in reference to that formula, this 4 would be used. 4 is the value in that $E, $5. This is cell E5. So if I'm holding it absolute, that means even if I'm dragging the formula forward or backward, the reference is going to still be 4. It won't change it to 7 or to 9 or to 3 or to 2. It will hold this as 4 and add it to whatever else is there in the value in the cell reference. So this one sums D5 to D7 and all divided by absolute reference C4. This is C4. Sorry, this is C4. Take note, these are not fixed, but this C4, even if I'm taking the formula to this column, it's going to still use 5. So it's going to say 754 divided by 5. 465 divided by 5. 237 divided by 5, because I've held it constant. In the first scenario, we added 965 summation C5 to C7 divided by C4. So when I drag it forward, it's going to just do all these 3 divided by this, all these 3 divided by this, all these 3 divided by this. Now, I want 5 to remain fixed. 5 can be anything. It can be a fixed cost. It can be a fixed amount. It can be a fixed amount of tax. It can be anything. It can be a fixed age. For instance, the minimum, the legal age to start voting, 18. In some places, the age might be different. Whatever the case is, anything that you want to hold fixed or absolute, you put it there. So as you are changing the formula, like using field handle to drag forward or downwards or upwards, as the case may be, up, forward or downwards, it's going to hold this constant. So it's going to be 754 divided by C4, 465 divided by C4, 237 divided by C4. Let me click this, you would see. Oh, sorry, for this. This is absolute. F5 to F7, holding this. As long as I have held C5 fixed, even if I drag this to anywhere, it's going to remain this 5. We're going to make reference to this 5. So there are other instructions there that you will also make use of. But take note, absolute reference means the cell will not change even if you drag the formula upwards or forwards or downwards. Relative reference, as the formula is moving, it changes the cell exactly as it is. In this case, relative reference is this to this point divided by 5. So as it moves to this column D, it's going to be this to this divided by D4. As we move to column E, it's going to be E5 to E7 divided by E4. That's relative reference. Absolute reference, 5 remains the same. So even if I move to column D, it's just going to be D5 to D7 divided by C4. That is absolute. That is how to take care of logical relative referencing, mixed and absolute. If there is any question after this, you may attempt the part 3 with the figures that are here. The figures in this orange part are different from what is here. This has been tweaked a bit. Like instead of 965, you have 243. Instead of 754, you have 167. In place of 465, you have 686, and in place of 237, you have 597. So that are the same instruction, but different entries and little tweaked. Yeah, most of the things here are what have been done here that have been explained. only that the entries are a bit different. So use the entries and attempt this question here. And if you have any question that you want to ask, the part 2 already of that apply your knowledge is already done here. Part 3 template is done here. You can use this template and explanation to do the part 3. And for part 1, the part 1 has been explained in the previous episode. It's titled Understanding Logical Tests and Absolute Self-Referencing. If there is any question, please put in the comments. It will be responded to accordingly. Thank you very much and see you next time. Bye.